logistics challenges and whatnot, and some costs. They're more expensive, our cost per acre, that we weren't faced with in the past. So we're expanding within the city, and we continue to do those projects out, fuel mitigation projects out beyond the city limits. So we're trying to focus on bringing people together to understand the problem. I get calls, as Brad has mentioned, gets calls every day, and I probably receive the same kinds of calls. But people don't understand that our program is about fuel hazard reduction. It's not about mountain pine beetle or whether the trees are red and dead. Our program starts with a hazard home ignition zone assessment. So we have to look at the hazard. We define that hazard, and then we try to plan with the landowner, with that homeowner, how we're going to address that risk. Because it's their risk. It's the homeowner and the landowner's risk, and we're trying to help them address that. So the hardest thing that I've got right now is to tell people to cut a green tree. Now, when they're looking at this 80% or whatever you want to call it, different percentages of mortality around them, it's very difficult for the public to understand that our program is about protecting structures and their really their life if it came to that. So that's our main thrust. If there are beetle-killed trees or any other killed trees within that home ignition zone, then we're going to address that, and certainly that would be a part of the plan. But our money is not for or because of the red and dead trees that we see around us.
Okay. Are there any financial opportunities for the homeowners, for property owners?
Yes, you know, it's and unfortunately my job has just become one where I'm constantly looking for grant monies, writing those, and then following through as a project manager rather than out there having fun trooping around like I used to be able to do so much. It's becoming more difficult, but we do have pretty good funding right now, and we will do a 50-50 match on the project cost. We have several contractors. I think we're up to about 11 now that have been approved through our system. And when I say approved, they come with insurance. We know that, and they're naming Tri-County as an insured on their policies. So we know that that's covered. The workers' comp is covered, and they have to be familiar with our program. Most of our contractors have a fire background. So when they tell an individual, a homeowner, here is the reason we want to take these trees or leave this cluster of trees, our decisions then are one that's supported by fire behavior and by the fuels that they're seeing as they're out there. It's kind of like roofers after a hailstorm right now for contractors. I know I get calls from people all the time wanting to know, is this a contractor that's associated with your program? And many are not. Not that they couldn't be, but there's a lot of them out there that are not.
Okay, thank you. Paul, talk to us a little about the Map Your Neighborhood program.
Randy, what I'd like to do is talk to you about Map Your Neighborhood, personal preparedness, and warning and evacuation. Map Your Neighborhood is a Citizen Corps program that was developed in the state of Washington, and they used it with a great deal of success because they knew that the neighborhoods that were mapped, and I'll talk about that in a minute, did not call the 911 center in the Seattle area after the big Nisqually earthquake. And Map Your Neighborhood is a program that is designed to help neighbors, to organize a neighborhood, to map, and when we talk about map, we're talking about not only where the homes are, but where the utility shutoffs are. It trains people to share resources such as skills, like some folks have been volunteer firefighters. Others have been involved in first aid training. We need to know that. The main thing is that it helps you get to know your neighbor and know that you can count on your neighbor in time of disaster and emergency. Because we know that through disaster research that 95% of all disaster response, whether it's a wildfire that we're talking about today, or a flood or an earthquake or hazardous material release, is done by citizens, not by volunteers or by the paid folks that we typically rely on. So Map Your Neighborhood teaches people to rely on themselves. And I have a program where I train people to to put on a Map Your Neighborhood program. It's up to 30 homes that are contiguous. We try to get a neighborhood couple of blocks. You have a meeting in the evening at somebody's house, not in a government building, and the meeting lasts 90 minutes. You get to know one another, you get to share your skills, you map out the various things that I mentioned earlier about where the utility shutoffs are and how you shut them off. So that means that if I can't shut mine off, you're living next door to me, you know where my gas shutoff is, gas is escaping, you can shut it off for me if I'm not available. You share resources. If I don't have a fire in my home after the earthquake, for instance, or during a wildfire, I can put out my fire extinguisher so one of my neighbors can use it. It's a great program, and we're trying to get that started here in the Helena area. The other thing I want to talk about is personal preparedness. We recommend that everybody have at least a 72-hour, that means 3 days, personal preparedness kit. What would you take if you were out camping for 3 days? That pretty much would answer the question as to what should I have in my kit. Now we're talking about wildfire. If you have to evacuate and your home is in danger, make sure that you have copies of all your valuables, that not only copies, but the originals, photographs, stuff that can't be replaced. Have it in your go kit. If you are given the order by the police department or the sheriff's office to evacuate, you need to do it immediately. Most people are killed in wildfire, members of the public, because they wait too long to evacuate. So when we say evacuate, we're deadly serious. And the ways we have of notifying people are what we call target notification. From the 911 center, you receive a call on a landline at your home telling you what the situation is. We're asking you to evacuate. The other thing is, another method of warning is the emergency alert system. We can interrupt regular radio, TV, and tell people what's going on. There's a wildfire in the South Hills of town, northern Jefferson County, wherever it is. If you're in this area, please evacuate immediately. Part of your personal plan should be, well, where will I go? Because we know that most people don't go to a Red Cross shelter. They stay with family or friends, and know that ahead of time.
Okay.